Hey everyone, thanks for listening. I'm Zoe Rusian Moreno, and this is the pilot, the prologue, the never heard, Architacora, a podcast that is dedicated to the narrative and visual designs and all its in-betweens. I hope you guys enjoy it. The show will be available in all podcast providers, so please give it a chance and subscribe. So, since it is the prologue to Architacora, I kind of wanted to give you guys a general summary of the ideas that I have for this developing project. The struggles, dreams, the possible future. So, just a little bit about everything. However, before doing that, I kind of wanted to tell you a little bit about who I am. As I said at the beginning, my name is Zoe Rusian Moreno, and I come from Caracas, Venezuela. You could say that I have a peculiar background. You see, my parents work in the advertising industry and they have their own production house since I was very young. My dad is a director and my mom is the head producer. They were always a team, always sharing, always creating together. You could say I pretty much spend most of my time in a studio set, in between productions, and overall just immersed in this dynamic of making ideas a reality. This environment certainly made me develop a keen curiosity for the question why. Just find out the overall purposes of everything, and was telling myself that everything has some form of narrative. And I never grew out of that why phase. I was always eager to find out more, get more knowledge of every little thing. In the classroom, I was always that kid who raised my hand and asked the professor, why this, why that? So yeah, I was that kid. Even when I came to pick my professional path, it wasn't a straight arrow. It wasn't like an aha moment. It wasn't like a woohoo, I'm a designer. I love stories, I love narratives, so maybe I'll study cinematographer, or maybe I'm gonna be a graphic designer or a production designer, just like my family. Not really. It was always a goal with obstacles, and my design expression, or the way that I decided to tell my own story, kept developing and kept growing. I picked architecture as my design path. However, that in itself is a crazy story because what came to that conclusion was my original idea and desire of becoming a paleontologist or an archaeologist, because I was more interested in old structures and fossils and overall history of the world. I was even looking at colleges in Mexico for that time, for that one. And that's kind of random, right? I honestly don't even remember what made me pick architecture in the first place. I think it was mostly a combination of the decisions of my love and my passion for history and structure and ideologies. And you could say, what does this has to do with narrative design? I think that's the thing. Every part of the system has something to say to one another. They complement each other. And it grows like a tree. Even now, I carry this thought process after getting my master's in architecture. And now I carry it in a way that narrative in a special matter that keeps looking beyond the walls and the typical structure. But I digress. To make the anecdote short, it was because of my combined love of why questions, the passion to find out the purpose of things, and that kind of peculiar background that slowly turned me into choosing a broader career that could potentially cover all my bases. And I think that's why I chose architecture at the moment. Ultimately, I think that this show is interesting because of that. Each design of ideas and visual has a story to tell. And in this episode, I just used some of my own to show you what it could be about. Hopefully, in the next couple of episodes, we'll see different conversations from different points of view, talk to other people that relate to other visual media, and we'll share ideas on a different topic, and we'll talk about from its definitions, the struggles, the successes, and overall, just share our thoughts in the matter. In the end, I think we'll see how narrative carries their own conclusion for each individual. Now, to answer some possible questions that the audience might have. So when I say narrative and visual design industry, what do I mean? Well, in layman's terms, it will be all groups of designs that express itself through a visual media and with a purpose, like architecture, illustration, animation, fashion, anything and everything of the many design branches. Another question that people might ask, why a podcast? Why not a YouTube or some type of visual channel? I believe the podcast has an advantage that drives you to be a critical listener, to take your time, organize your idea, and use your imagination to understand the topic. While if I were to do a visual channel, the conversation would be just simply different. The way of interpreting information about the media, it will take a different part of the brain. And for now, I want to focus on creating this link with people who are willing to listen. Kind of like when it becomes a new group of friends who share the same passion, like a Comic-Con, but for creatives. This is not to say that down the line, hopefully this podcast can become a multimedia show, but we'll see. My hope for Architacora is that it becomes this hub where all creatives can connect and find their own versions of expression, learn a new thing or two, or even just have a relaxed setting for conversation. That's the goal. And I hope that you guys enjoy listening to the show and follow me in this little adventure, because I have the feeling it'll be a fun one. And that's a wrap for the Prologue, the pilot, or the first episode of Architacora. So please be sure to visit iTunes and give on a bright, amazing, cool rating, and also write a little review about what you guys think. I'll make sure to read it, and hopefully I'll answer any other questions or comments in the next episode. So keep on creating. Thank you. Bye.